Right on. That was Lord Numb with the Ghost of Divers. Now, this particular one I picked because I really like the bass line and almost it was almost like a digital delay because I just figured it went so well and kind of caught my ear right away.
Yeah, it's got almost a dubby bass line on it. That one actually. Yeah,
And
that's I really like that song. That's quite an old one actually. That was on an album I had out on white label music called Robots Need Love Too a couple of years ago, a year and a half ago maybe.
right,
But I wrote it quite a while before it came out. And lyrically, it was inspired by myself and Lady Numb. We went to Egypt and we go snorkeling quite a lot. I'm not proper diving, but
right.
snorkeling. And we went to this place in Egypt called the Bells, which is a famous diving spot. But a lot of divers have actually died there.
Oh, really?
And they get there's a kind of like an underwater cave or something, and they've been trapped in there.
Oh no.
And yeah, it's really quite grim. And there's like little plaques on the kind of seafront. So that's why it's called Ghosts of Divers, because I kind of imagine sort of swimming in the sea and seeing ghosts of divers. So that's where that came from. So yeah, it's got a bit of a dubby bass line on it. Got some nice guitars. Yeah.
Right, because actually I've played the song quite a few times, but I played it on Music Saturday, November 1st, so the day after Halloween, and I kind of still keep to a bit of a Halloween theme, so I played the Ghost of Divers, and now that makes much more sense. I mean, the song itself is like really tripped out, but that makes much more sense, kind of gives it a bit more of a creepy feel to it.
Yeah.
So, also, yesterday, got you a new fan. I have a show called The Bones and Beat Banter, which is every second Thursday, and I brought it up because I said, well, I'm really excited about the interview today, and we played Ouija Board, which is probably one of my favorites, so got you a new fan out of that, and probably a few more who listen to the show, but...
fantastic, cool.
Ouija
Board, that's, again, that's my kind of, my obsession with Victorian kind of gentlemen and their, this thing, Lord Numb, and... there was a kind of thing in Victorian England where they were quite obsessed with seances and spirits and ectoplasm and all of that stuff.
Right.
So have you seen the video for Whistle and I'll Come to You on YouTube?
Yes, actually I have. Actually came upon it about maybe a half hour, 40 minutes ago, because I was looking up a couple of things, and I wanted to see if there's anything I missed. I was like, oh, well, here we go.
Yeah. So that kind of encapsulates my kind of obsession with this kind of Victorian seance thing. So yeah, the video is kind of based around a seance, and also it's also based on a story by M.R. James called "Whistle and I'll Come to You, My Lad."
Okay.
Which is an old ghost story. He's an amazing ghost story writer. He wrote some incredible short. They're all quite short stories.
Right.
But he's probably Britain's most famous ghost story writer, and yeah, I Whistle and I'll Come to You. It's been made into a very famous BBC kind of TV play in the 60s, which scared the absolute shit out of everyone that saw it. And still does. It's really, really spooky, and that was kind of the inspiration for that song, Whistle and I'll Come to You. So, and Ouija board kind of came from that, because we made a kind of mock-up Ouija board for the video, and from there that's kind of inspired the song. Yeah,
that's the one thing I did notice the most was the makeup Ouija board, but the one thing with Victorian times is like it's one of those periods where there's so much was going on, but a lot of it was kind of behind closed doors, that sort of thing.
Yeah, very much.
And it's always interesting to me to see people who kind of redo it, meaning like for videos like What's Not Come to You, that sort of thing. It just kind of, even again the get up, the old Victorian style get up, and one of the videos that sticks out most to me is a Nine Inch Nails song from years ago. I think it was like 96, from the Lost Highway soundtrack, called The Perfect Drug, and it was complete like kind of Victorian dress up and everything. And it was just such a cool video, but such a good idea. And seeing Trent Reznor in the band kind of dressed up with the huge old top hats and everything else, it looked really cool, because you can kind of, it was in my eyes from that. I mean, I don't know tons about the Victorian era. Victorian era, I'm not going to lie, but from that, it gives me the idea of more. It was kind of like a dark period in time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just one of those things. I love there's some amazing photographs that you can find. I mean, obviously online these days, but of Victorian seances and people supposedly producing ectoplasm and things like that, and they're just amazing. They're just amazing, and I just like the kind of Victorian look as well, because I kind of, when I'm on stage, there's a little bit of that going on. Like I've got the old watch chain and
nice.
And the little clips on the shirt, and I wax my moustache up a little bit and stick it out in a little handlebar.
Right on.
We always wear suits on stage as well, so we have to, apart from Jez the drummer, who I'm still trying to shoehorn into a suit, but me and the bass player and keyboard player, we wear full suits and waistcoats and ties, and so it's a kind of a little bit playing on the Lord Numb thing. I mean, Bob, the bass player, he keeps trying to persuade me to wear as you said, Trent Reznor, or I think that's what you're calling is a stovepipe hat. It's like a really tall top hat.
Exactly.
I just don't think it'd be practical on stage when I'm jumping around.
Well, right, it might fall off, right?
Yeah, I think it's going to fall off, or I will go through the ceiling. One of the two.
Well, that's the one thing I can always see that happening. I mean, if you're pretty much standing complacent most of the time, different story. But if you're jumping around, yeah, it's not going to happen. It's going to fall off.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, you got a hat you spent 50 pounds on, and now someone else in the crowd has it. You know.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not going to take that chance.
So speaking of the band, you said when you play live, you got a band behind you. So let's talk about that for a little bit.
Well, live. It's quite weird because people who are familiar with the stuff that I record on my own, when they come to see us live, are always really surprised as to how kind of loud and rocky it is. What happens live is obviously I play the guitar and some of the keyboards, and then my good friend Bob, who records his own solo stuff under the name Spider's Leg. And if you get a chance to check some of his stuff out, you should, because he's absolutely amazing. He plays bass with me and also keyboards and does some backing vocals. And our really good friend Jez plays drums. So what we tend to do live is we have some stuff coming off of a like an iPod backing. So some of the synthesizers and some of the sort of extra sounds that you get when I record, because we can't bring that fully into the live thing with just three of us. We have some of that coming off of a backing iPod, and then we play live along with it. And at the moment we're kind of running that for half the set, and then the other half of the set is just us live as a sort of free piece. But it seems to work really well, and it's a very different beast live.
Oh, I can.
Very, very energetic, and there's lots of jumping around and lots of guitar histrionics from me, and lots of posing. We try and make it a bit of an event, because there's nothing in my opinion. I just find it really boring to just go and see a group of people just stood on the stage, kind of staring at their feet and not really doing very much. So if somebody's made the effort to come out and see you, then I'm going to make an effort to try and entertain, and that's my kind of take on that one.
Well, no, fair enough, and that makes sense, and I totally agree about that. I mean, I'd rather see some movement instead of people standing complacently the entire time. And
there's a place for that, I guess. I guess you could say it's for some people it's about the music, and I agree with that. But just personally, when I go and see a band, or I go and see somebody live, I want to see a bit of a performance,
right?
And so that's what we try and give. That's why we kind of dress up a little bit, and we try and move around a lot, and just try and make it as dynamic as possible, because there is only three of us, so
right.
But we have to kind of project ourselves a bit.
But I think the cool thing is being able to do this live, because a lot of these or studio or sound like studio albums, it's some people they don't play it live, or it's hard to play live, but when you can pull it off, it sounds great.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, that's how we kind of get around the issue of, because obviously when I record stuff, as I was saying earlier, it's quite layered. There's a lot of stuff in each individual tune. There's a lot of stuff going on in those tunes, and to recreate that with 3 people is almost impossible. So that's why we use some of the stuff coming off of the backing track,
right?
And then we augment that with the live 3-piece over the top. But as I say, half of the set is fully live, so there's nothing coming off of any backing tape at all, and that's when we really get the chance to rock out and show our rock and roll heritage.
Right. Well, we're gonna get into another song very, very shortly here. Just a few things first. I want to get into a little bit of your influences. Like when I was reading the Facebook bio on the page, stuff like when it says like horror and David Bowie and especially Vincent Price. Like that was so cool because everybody in I guess our age group, or maybe a little bit below, may know Vincent Price is, but probably not unless they realize it's the guy who does Thriller for Michael Jackson on their song. So, because obviously Vincent Price has done quite a few things, and I think what probably is my favorite opening to a song, because he's done a few, is Alice Cooper's song "The Black Widow."
Oh yeah.
That is a creepy
really
intro.
Fan of Alice Cooper, actually.
What's that? Sorry.
I'm a really big fan of Alice Cooper.
Oh,
I love his stuff.
I love old Alice Cooper. A friend got me into him years ago, and it's fantastic stuff. And that it's such a creepy, but kind of a little funny too for the intro of that song.
Well, he's got such. Obviously he's not with us anymore, but
No.
He's got such an amazing voice, Vincent Price. His voice has got such an amazing kind of timbre to it, and it fits perfectly for those kind of voiceover things.
Oh, it's very distinct.
I'm a great fan of his horror stuff. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with his stuff he did for like Hammer Horror, but he did a load of other stuff as well. He did a really amazing film called Theatre of Blood, which is a 70s British horror film, and then 2 films under the Dr. Phibes moniker. Dr. Phibes and Dr. Phibes Returns, I think it's the second one's called. But those 3 films are 3 of my favourite films of all time. That's just because they are horror films, but they're really very tongue-in-cheek, as well. He was just an amazing actor, and I'm a really big fan of 70s horror films anyway. So, yeah.
Well,
Nice.
Right on. Like I said, I want to bring that up because I talked about we talked a little bit about it yesterday on my show yesterday. But when I first saw it, I was like, well, that's really cool because I really like Vincent Price, and just like as I saw that, I was like, well, now I can kind of see I can see the horror side to it, but I can almost see where he could actually be maybe fit into one of the songs if he were still with us. So.
Yeah, I wish he was still around. He could have done the intro for Ouija board.
Oh man, that would be, I could only imagine what he would come up with, right?
That would have worked a treat, that one.
Yeah. So we're gonna listen to another song, and this is kind of tying into what we were talking about before and now. It's the kind of horror, the dark sort of thing, and this is called The Dark Ages. Dig this.
Okay, lovely.